So there comes the female GOAT, and these women are going from having 3,000 people in their arenas to 20,000.
Presence alone is all that matters. Her love for the game is all that matters. I think probably the only person that is worried about how she plays is, I would imagine, Caitlin herself.
Thankful that she's here. Kind of the one on, when you talk about women's sports, she's kind of, other than Nelly, it's been Caitlin.
Imagine the most prestigious golf courses in the world, the perfectly manicured greens, the hushed crowds, the atmosphere of quiet concentration. Now, picture a scene that shatters an entire image. The galleries aren't quiet, they're roaring. The fans aren't just seasoned golf enthusiasts. They're families, young kids, and basketball fans who have never set foot on a fairway. And at the center of it all is not a grizzled golf pro, but a 22-year-old basketball rookie who has, in a single day, become the main event. This was a reality at the RSM Classic Pro-Am. But what everyone witnessed, there was about so much more than a few impressive golf shots. This was the living, breathing proof of a phenomenon so powerful. It's rewriting the rules of sports entertainment.
I think a lot of things that me and Annika said is we share a lot of the same values, and I think that's really cool, being driven, but so do they at the same time. Like, obviously we're, professional athletes or played sport or whatever it was, but at the same time in their lives, it all relates. And I think people at times forget that. We're real humans too, and we're driven by the same things that they are.
How did Caitlin Clark, before even playing a full season in the WNBA, become the most talked about, most influential, and most transformative athlete in the world? The answers might just shock you. Before we dive into the deep end of this incredible story, if you're fascinated by the figures who are changing the game, make sure you're subscribed. We break down the careers and impacts of the world's most pivotal athletes, and you don't want to miss what's coming next. It started with a swing. When Caitlin Clark stepped on the first tee at the RSM Classic, the expectations were a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Sure, she was a global sports star, but golf? That's a different beast entirely. The golf world is a realm of subtle nuances of silent pressure, where a single mental error can unravel years of technical practice. For a basketball player used to roar in arenas and the constant flow of the game, the solitary, patient nature of golf represents the ultimate challenge.
It's so much different than basketball. That's why I love it. It's, individual. It's a challenge, especially mentally. Like, that's what's so beautiful about golf. And I think being outside, I love that. That's the one bad thing about being in the WNBA now. It's in the spring and the summer. Part of the fall, I really miss a lot of opportunity to play golf.
Many had seen celebrities and athletes from other sports try their hand at Pro-Ams, often resulting in awkward shanks and comedic relief for the galleries. The assumption was that Clark would be no different, a phenomenal talent in her own arena, but a fish out of water on the lush, demanding fairways of a PGA Tour caliber course. Yet, from the moment she addressed the ball, something felt different. The way she settled into her stance wasn't tentative. It was assured. The practice swings weren't just for show. They were measured and deliberate, revealing an underlying understanding of the mechanics at play. This wasn't a celebrity hacking their way around the course for laughs. This was an athlete, a competitor, in her purest form, translating her generational hand-eye coordination to a completely different discipline.
Yeah. You got that. There you go.
180 yards is fair.
Witnesses describe her swing as a blend of raw power and refined technique, a thing of beauty that seemed utterly out of place for a supposed novice. It was a swing that spoke not of occasional weekend rounds, but of a genuine and dedicated practice regimen undertaken in her limited spare time. But the most stunning moment came on a par 5. Her drive was long and true, setting up a daunting second shot. Without hesitation, she selected a long iron, a club that tests the skill of even seasoned amateurs. The contact was pure, a crisp sound that echoed across the fairway. The ball soared through the air with pinpoint accuracy. A high, drawing arc that held its line against the wind before landing softly on the green, setting up a looking eagle. The crowd, which had been buzzing all day, erupted in a roar that felt more suited to a game-winning three-pointer than a golf shot. PGA Tour veteran Zach Johnson, who was watching closely, could only shake his head in disbelief. He later called her focus unreal and said she attacked challenges most would run from, a testament to the elite mindset that separates great athletes from the rest.
It was awesome. Caitlin loves the sport, loves the difficulty. You can tell she's a competitor. She likes to tackle hard things. It's evident.
But the real story wasn't just on the scorecard. It was in the crowd itself. They weren't there for golf. They were there for Caitlin. You could see it in the jerseys, a sea of Iowa black and gold and Indiana fever blue mixed in with the traditional golf polos. They followed her every move, cheered her every shot, and in doing so, They exposed a secret to her unprecedented influence. She had single-handedly brought an entirely new, vibrant, and youthful demographic to a traditionally stoic sport, turning hushed whispers into excited gasps and polite applause into passionate cheers.
There are so many both male and female, who have watched a lot of WNBA basketball this year because of Caitlin Clark. And now it seems like whatever she does, whether it's in fashion, whether it's in the arts, and now whether it's in sports here, they seem to follow her. And anything that she touches makes it a little bit better. And obviously she's doing that with golf right now.
This wasn't a golf tournament. It was a crossover cultural event, a live demonstration of her power to captivate an audience anywhere, anytime, in any sport. But what truly set Caitlin Clark apart was the data, the cold, hard numbers that proved this was not just a viral moment, but a fundamental shift in the sports landscape. Let's talk about the viewership, the most important metric for any professional league. The WNBA has seen more than 18 games this season crack over 1 million average viewers, a threshold that was once a lofty dream for the league. Out of those 18 mega-hit broadcasts, a staggering 16 of them featured one common denominator, Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever.
There's a lot of appropriate attention on Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever, and we found out that the Fever Storm game from over the weekend drew 2.2 million viewers, which is massive. The WNBA has 18 games this season where they've had more than 1 million viewers average, and 16 of those 18 have featured Caitlin Clark. So you cannot deny the connectivity of Caitlin Clark playing basketball and people wanting to watch. If she's playing, they will come, they will watch the game.
One particular game against the Seattle Storm, a matchup featuring other legendary players, drew an audience of 2.2 million people. To understand how monumental that is, you have to look at the history of the league. For comparison, the WNBA finals just a few years prior were averaging around 400,000 to 500,000 viewers. These new numbers were once thought impossible, a clear signal that the market for women's sports was not just underserved, but starving for a star of this magnitude.
Clark is just such a class act. She was incredible, breaking all types of records, and that's something she was certainly proud of. We saw lots of smiles on the court.
Caitlin is the face right now, and that's also good. Like, she's selling out gyms, of course. Like, why would you hate against that?
It isn't just on television, either. The phenomenon is palpable in person. Arenas across the country, both home and away, are selling out, creating an electric atmosphere that has become the new normal. Cities like Phoenix, Atlanta, and Dallas, which rarely saw a WNBA game draw significant crowds, are now packed to rafters when Clark comes to town, with fans often lining up for hours before the gates even open just to catch a glimpse of her warm-up. The Indiana Fever's own home stadium, Gamebridge Fieldhouse, has transformed into one of the toughest tickets in all of sports, with prices on the secondary market skyrocketing to levels comparable to major NBA playoffs, with some courtside seats demanding thousands of dollars.
The golf fans, they're either Caitlin fans or WNBA fans, and it's kind of their first exposure to the game. So a lot like last week, it was a really good step for golf and obviously for Caitlin and her fans.
Her merchandise sales tell a similar story of explosive demand. Her college jersey at Iowa was a top-selling jersey for any women's athlete in online stores, period, outselling even World Cup soccer stars. And her Fever jersey flew off the shelves so fast that manufacturers and retailers were caught completely off guard, leading to widespread shortages and waiting lists. This demand created a frenzied secondary market where game-worn or even retail jerseys were being resold for thousands of dollars, a practice typically reserved for legends of the game. Every metric available, social media engagement where her highlights garner millions of views, Google search trends where her name consistently dominates, merchandise sales that break every existing model, points to the same conclusion. The Caitlin Clark effect is not media hype. It's a quantifiable economic and cultural tsunami that is permanently altering the altitude of women's professional basketball.
I'm excited. I think, obviously our goal of reaching the playoffs last year we accomplished, but now, we want to be a championship contender. I think we're putting in the pieces to be able to do that, hopefully add some free agents, and you can just feel the excitement in the whole organization and in the city, our fans. So honestly, I can't wait to get back out there. I wish we had a game tomorrow.
And this leads us directly into the most powerful part of the story, an aspect we can only call Clarkonomics. This is a ripple effect her presence has on the entire financial ecosystem of the sport and beyond, creating a rising tide that is quite literally lifting all boats.
Maybe I'll ask Caitlin for some advice, some tips. Next time we'll get together, maybe it'll be on a basketball court.
When Caitlin Clark plays, everything gets more expensive and more valuable, creating a new economic reality for the league. Ticket prices for her games have seen an average increase of over 200% compared to last season, with some markets experiencing an increase of 400% or more for premium games. But it's not just a Fever cashing in on this bonanza. When she travels to New York, to Los Angeles, to Chicago, those venues see a similar surge in both ticket demand and price, meaning rival teams are generating unprecedented revenue simply because she is on the opposing team's roster. She is effectively a walking economic stimulus package for every team in the league, a unique situation in professional sports.
And Clark out playing in the Pro-Am at the RSM Classic.
Certainly the biggest sports stars in the world seem to want to spend a lot of time around.
Sponsorship deals have flooded in, not just for her personally, with massive, multi-million-dollar partnerships with major brands like Nike, Gatorade, and State Farm, but for the league as a whole. Companies that were once hesitant to invest significant marketing dollars in the WNBA are now clamoring for a piece of the action, realizing the engaged and diverse audience she delivers. The WNBA's media rights deals are up for negotiation soon, and because of the massive, demonstrable audience Clark has brought, the league is now in a position to demand a rights fee that is multiples of its current value, potentially securing billions of dollars for its long-term future. The valuation of the Indiana Fever franchise itself has been catapulted upward in a way that defies traditional projections. Analysts suggest that her arrival has added tens of millions of dollars to the team's worth overnight, transforming it from one of the less valuable assets in the league to a crown jewel. She has even impacted the stock prices of the public companies she partners with, a phenomenon known as endorsement effect, usually reserved for male sports icons like Michael Jordan or LeBron James. This isn't just about playing basketball. It's about activating a multi-million-dollar economy simply by stepping onto the court, proving that her value is not just in points scored, but in markets moved and industries energized. But with this unprecedented rise in the blinding spotlight comes an immense, often brutal, pressure that few 22-year-olds have ever had to endure. The crown of being the chosen one is heavy, and not everyone is happy to see her wear it. The narrative of universal celebration is a myth, and beneath the surface of record-breaking ratings lies a complex undercurrent of professional jealousy and territorialism. Behind the scenes, and sometimes not so subtly, there's been an undercurrent of resentment from some veteran players of the league who feel their years of toiling in relative obscurity have been unfairly overshadowed. The sentiment, often voiced in cryptic social media posts or pointed comments in interviews, is that she hasn't paid her dues, that the media coverage is disproportionately focused on her, and that the financial rewards she's bringing are not trickling down fast or fairly enough to the established stars who have kept the league afloat for years through their own hard work and dedication. This tension has manifested in physically aggressive play on the court, a trial by fire that has been difficult to watch. Clark has been subjected to hard fouls that border on dangerous, cheap shots away from the ball, and a level of physicality that seems designed not just to stop her, but to test her mental and physical fortitude, and send a message about the perceived hierarchy of the league. The conversation on social media and sports talk shows is fiercely divided, creating a toxic backdrop to her rookie year. Is she being unfairly targeted? And is the league not doing enough to protect its brightest star? Or is this just a welcome every rookie gets, albeit amplified 1,000 times by the spotlight she exists in? Furthermore, every move she makes is analyzed under a microscope with intensity, usually reserved for politicians or pop stars. Her golf game, her candid interviews, her off-court appearances, everything is content, and everything is criticized from every conceivable angle. The pressure to perform every single night, to be the savior of an entire league, to single-handedly justify the massive hype and financial investment, is a burden that would break most athletes, let alone a rookie. How she handles this noise, this constant duality of adoration and animosity, may be the truest test of her legendary status, a challenge that exists entirely separate from her ability to shoot a basketball. Yet, despite all this, her influence has exploded beyond the confines of the basketball court, cementing her status as a genuine cultural icon for a new generation. She represents a new archetype for the female athlete, fiercely competitive, unapologetically confident, and with a star power that transcends sport and enters the mainstream consciousness. Young boys and girls now wear her jersey not just because she's a great shooter, but because she embodies a kind of audacious greatness they aspire to. The logo-range three-pointers, the flashy no-look passes, and the fiery emotion she plays would have made her a highlight reel fixture and a role model for fearlessness. She's featured on national talk shows like Saturday Night Live and Good Morning America. Her face is on national commercials that run during primetime NFL games, and her record-breaking college games were broadcast on major networks in primetime, shattering the old model of how women's sports are presented. She has changed the very aesthetic of women's sports marketing, pushing leagues and brands to embrace the individuality and charisma of their players rather than presenting a homogeneous group. The WNBA is now leaning into this shift that Clark has spearheaded, promoting player-led content and personality-driven storylines that connect with fans on a more personal level. Her partnership with State Farm and other blue-chip brands shows that corporate America sees her not as a niche athlete for a female audience, but as a mainstream, cross-demographic star capable of moving the needle for any product, from insurance to sports drinks. She has become a symbol of a broader movement, a testament to the fact that women's sports can be must-see television, can drive massive revenue, and can produce global superstars on par with any male athlete, finally shattering the outdated perception of their marketability. Her journey is being watched closely by every young athlete with a dream, showing them that the ceilings that once existed, in terms of fame, financial gain, and cultural impact, are now there to be shattered, and that the next generation doesn't have to accept the limitations of the past. So, what does the future hold for this unprecedented phenomenon? The questions are as immense as her talent, and carry the weight of an entire industry's expectations. Can she translate this individual stardom into team success and lead the Indiana Fever to a WNBA championship? The league is more competitive than ever, packed with veteran-led super teams and dynasties that have been building chemistry for years. The path to a title is a brutal marathon, and the target on her back, both as a rookie and as the face of the league, is only going to grow larger and more pronounced with each passing game. Her development as a player, particularly in tightening her handle against relentless defensive pressure and improving her efficiency, will be critical. Furthermore, the Fever's front office faces immense pressure to build a championship-caliber roster around her, making savvy draft picks and strategic free agent signings to capitalize on her rookie contract window. The upcoming media rights negotiation for the WNBA will be the ultimate test of her lasting impact, a direct valuation of the new audience she has delivered. If the league secures a historic multi-billion-dollar deal, a significant portion of the credit will be laid at her feet, fundamentally altering the financial future for every player that follows. But the most tantalizing question is one of sustainability. Is the Caitlin Clark effect a permanent expansion of the WNBA's fan base, or is it a bubble that will eventually recede once the initial novelty wears off? The evidence, however, suggests something more profound than a temporary spike. She hasn't just attracted casual viewers who tune in for the hype. She has created genuine, dedicated fans of the game itself. People who initially tuned in to watch her logo threes are now staying to appreciate the post-mastery of Aya Wilson, the all-around brilliance of Breanna Stewart, and the sharpshooting of Sabrina Ionescu. She has raised the tide for all ships, creating a more vibrant, visible, and financially secure ecosystem for every player in the league. Her career is a long-term experiment, one that will dictate the trajectory of women's professional sports for the next decade, influencing everything from youth participation rates to investment in women's leagues across the globe. The true success will be measured not just in rings, but in whether this elevated platform remains long after a final buzzer sounds. From a stunning golf shot that captivated the PGA Tour to rewriting the business model of an entire sports league, the story of Caitlin Clark is far from over. It is a narrative still being written with every game she plays. It's a narrative that challenges every assumption we had about audience engagement, marketability, and the very power of a single individual to act as a catalyst for systemic change. She arrived not just as a player, but as a force of nature, and in her wake, she has left a transformed landscape that future rookies will inherit as the new normal. The sold-out arenas on the road, the record-breaking viewership that rivals major men's sporting events, the fierce debates that dominate sports talk radio, an inspired generation of kids, both boys and girls, wearing number 22. All of it points to a simple, undeniable truth. We are not just watching a great athlete compile highlights. We are witnessing a revolution in real time, a paradigm shift in how women's sports are consumed, valued, and celebrated. She has become a symbol of possibility, proving that with transcendent talent and unshakable confidence, the old ceilings can not only be broken, but can be completely forgotten. And the most shocking part of this entire journey? What we have seen so far, the record ratings, the economic boom, the cultural moments, is likely only the very beginning of her influence. As she matures physically, refines her game, and gains more experience, her impact on the court will only deepen. Off the court, her voice and her choices will continue to shape the business of sports for years to come. This isn't a peak. It's a new plateau from which the next generation will launch. If you found this deep dive into the phenomenon of Caitlin Clark as fascinating as we did, we want to hear from you. What do you think is the most lasting impact she will have on sports? Is it the financial growth, the cultural shift, or something else entirely? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one. And if you haven't already, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more content that goes beyond the headlines and dives deep into the stories shaping the world of sports. Thanks for watching.